Hi, this is Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California. I couldn't muster the requisite energy to put my hair in braids today, so it is me, I promise. Just got my hair in a bun. Okay, because I know you were worried. Today we're going to work on Galavasana, otherwise known as, and it's not a real translation, flying pigeon, okay? Because you don't want to be a sitting pigeon. Well, actually, we're going to start off in a sitting pigeon. Not the real name, but that's what I'm going to call it. We've seen this pose before. It's a great stretch. Can you name the video that I did this stretch in? You're going to take your foot and sort of take it just above your knee, where your knee meets your quadriceps, and you're going to bend your leg in, okay? It's just going to give you a nice little hip opening here, or a nice big hip opening if you're pretty tight. You'll know if you're tight if your leg is like in your ear, okay? Because we're not looking for like nose in the ear. If you're here, it's going to be really hard to do this pose. So you're going to start off just with this stretch, and once this becomes manageable, you can move forward. But in this pose, you want to just sort of squish it up. Your foot is flexing, and this knee is pushing away. So think like pigeon, how the leg is parallel, say, to the chest. And in a perfect world, you're going to squish this into a little pigeon ball, and you know you've arrived when you can pick your nose with your toe. Okay? Got it? Okay. Ew. Okay. Clean toe. Everything's okay. Okay, this is a really, really nice stretch. You're definitely going to want to warm up the hips for this one. Once you've got this one, remember you always come out by taking the leg out, knee up and down, okay? Because you want to make sure that you're really, really safe with that. Okay, I'm crammed into my corner as usual, trying to make this shot work. Okay, second thing we're going to do, we're going to come into basically the same pose, but in a standy, stretchy, balancy way. So we're going to take the same leg and cross it across your opposite kneecap. And again, with the tightness, you'll see the knee sort of pops forward. I want you to just push the knee backwards, sort of like a modified tree position, if you will. You should feel like a nice, actually it's a modified tree position even if you won't. You'll feel a nice stretch in here in your hip flexor, and you want the knee going out and down, but not so far out that the hips open. This is the problem with most people, is they think that, like, say this, or like tree, is like a knee directly to the side position, but they do it at the expense of the hips. You never want to do anything at the expense of the hips. So, knee is pushing back, foot is flexing, just open that up. Okay? Great. I'm working with different angles here, trying to find the one that's going to work the best for you guys. Okay, next one. Same thing, leg crosses, knee pushes back, and then we're going to come into a chair position with our legs. See how it's sort of parallel, or even the knee is sort of down? Again, you want to make sure your knee is not up here and your foot is not across here. These are two signs that you're a little too tight for this next pose. So if you got the seated pose and you got that left standing pose, now you got to work on this pose. So again, leg is crossing, knee pressing back translates into knee pushing down as I come into my squat. And I just come in here. You do it like 5 breaths, something like that. Okay, once you got that, we can move into the nitty-gritty of this pose. This pose is actually not as hard as it looks. Once you've got the hip opening, it's really almost just a modified crow. So here's the work. I'm going to come to the front of my mat, cross my ankle. Same thing, I sit down, but this time I'm going to put my hands flat on the floor. Now if you can't get your hands flat on the floor, you can come up on your tippy toes, that's completely fine. But watch the real work here, and if you don't have this, the pose will not work. My hands come down, and you see these toes over here? I'm going to wrap them around my arm as if my foot were a hand that's keeping my arm in place. Okay, so again, the foot is going to tend to just relax out to the side. I want you to make sure to hook it all the way around. Okay, so you're going to grab your arm with your toes. If you do not have this, you will not be able to get final pose. Okay, so if there's a secret to the pose, you just heard it. Hook like crazy, okay? Now, I come to the front of my mat. until I get super advanced. I'm working with palms always flat. Particularly watch those thumbs. They like to turn backwards, so flatten them out. Okay. Hands come down. My foot hooks. Looking forward always, right, in all of my arm balances. Now what I want you to think of is just like a baby crow to start, not a baby crow, a full crow. You're gonna look forward, remember a crow, my elbows are gonna have to come above my wrist, and my gaze, heart, moving forward, my foot is hooking, and all I want you to do is, if you're coming into a crow, is just try to lift your foot and put it down. Okay, because you'll see that my body weight is in exactly the same position. I just have like a hip opener added in there. Now, that part you can actually do without the foot hook. But if you want to go into full pose, you're going to have to institute the foot hook like crazy. So, to go from that pose, which is sort of the squatty, balancy, crowy type of a thing, where your arms are basically just forming a shelf that your knee is resting upon. To get from that into leg back, you gotta remember one important thing. Your back leg is very, very heavy. Now, I don't even have to know you, and this isn't personal, and don't think you have to go on a diet. My leg is heavy too. Everyone's leg is heavy, okay? Do you feel okay about yourself now? Back leg is heavy. What does that mean? It means that I'm gonna have to compensate the weight behind me with some sort of weight in front of me, okay? So that means, A, gaze is always up, but when I say gaze up, I don't just mean gaze up, I mean open through your collarbones and extend your heart. Okay, so here we go. Cross, arm, chair, hands flat, foot hooks. Look forward. Now, as you lean forward, we're going to start off just like that little crow. So first, you can just take your foot up. Then, as my heart goes forward, and my foot, you can see my right foot is holding on to my left arm, takes me into my pose. And you can jump back, or you can just release in the same succession. Okay. The main thing is, if your arms are more bent, it's going to create more of a shelf, okay? So it's going to make a more stable pose. As your pose gets more advanced, you can start straightening your arms more and more. Again, heart goes forward, collarbones go forward. You need to balance out that heavy, heavy leg behind you with whatever is in front of you. And use that foot to hook like crazy. Now, just to show you just how similar this pose, the Ekapada Galavasana, and the crow, which is the Bakasana, which, of course, I have a video for that too, are, check out this transition. You'll want sort of narrower hand than usual, perhaps, for this one. But as I come down, my foot hooks. I lean forward. See how that's like a crow? My leg comes back, and then I'm just going to bring it in. 4, crow. And I can transition back, hooking the foot, back around my arm. Whoa. Extending my leg all the way back, and then perhaps jumping on the dismount. Remember that you always land in chaturanga, never in a plank position. Okay, that's your trick to work on today. I promise you, it's a pretty manageable pose. You just gotta make sure you've mastered that crow and you've got a nice open hip. Oh, I have a hip opener video too. You could always check that one out. This is Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California, wishing you an awesome day.